This episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report is brought to you by Draeger Rental and Safety Services, your trusted source for industrial safety services and technology. We'll share more about Draeger later in the episode. Welcome to the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report, your go-to source for the latest updates in the energy sector. I'm Samantha, your AI podcast host, and today is October 18th, 2024. In today's episode, new findings emerge from the Pemex Deer Park gas leak, Amazon invests in X-Energy's nuclear programs, and other top news from the energy sector this week. But before we get started, we ask that if you enjoy our podcast, please like, comment, and share it with your colleagues. Your support helps us grow and allows us to bring you even more exciting updates from the energy sector in the future. With that being said, let's jump into the first story. Just over a week removed from the deadly gas leak in Deer Park that resulted in the deaths of 2 workers and injuring 35 others, a new report from Pemex on the incident has become public. According to the report to Texas regulators, Pemex's Deer Park refinery near Houston released 43,500 pounds of toxic hydrogen sulfide gas over nearly 8 hours on October 10th. The release exceeded the hourly emission limit by more than 800 times. 13 workers remain hospitalized, and the U.S. Chemical Safety Board has launched a probe into the incident. We'll be tracking this story closely, and we'll keep you up to date as more information comes to light. Next up, Amazon is betting on nuclear power as X-Energy has secured approximately $500 million in Series C1 financing, led by the e-commerce giant, to advance its nuclear reactor technology and fuel development. The funding will support completion of X-Energy's reactor design, licensing, and its Triso X fuel facility in Tennessee, along with future carbon-free projects using its XE100 small modular reactors. Amazon and X-Energy aim to deploy 5 gigawatts of SMR projects by 2039, beginning with a 320-megawatt project in Washington. Amazon's investment aligns with its climate pledge to reach net zero emissions by 2040, while the partnership highlights nuclear energy's role in powering data centers and meeting energy demands. We'll move on now to some troubling data from the EIA as global refinery margins have plunged to multi-year lows, signaling shrinking profits for oil refiners, according to the agency. Measured by the 3 to 2 to 1 crack spread, margins have stayed below their 5-year average since spring, hitting September levels not seen since the early pandemic. Weak demand for distillate fuels, coupled with increased biofuel use and the rise of electric vehicles, has weighed heavily on profits. Meanwhile, new refining capacity in Kuwait, Oman, and Nigeria has added supply pressures, forcing some refineries to scale back operations or shut down entirely. With refinery closures already underway and the energy transition accelerating, the road ahead suggests that refining margins may remain under pressure for the foreseeable future. Before we move on to our next story, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report is brought to you by Draeger Rental and Safety Services. From daily operations to large turnaround and shutdown projects, partner with Draeger for smart technical solutions that protects, supports, and saves lives. To learn more, visit www.draeger.com. For our next story, Phillips 66 has announced that it will close its Los Angeles area refinery in late 2025, working with California to ensure fuel supplies remain stable during the transition. The refinery currently employs 600 workers and 300 contractors, with CEO Mark Lashier emphasizing the company's commitment to supporting those affected by the closure. The company has partnered with real estate developers Catalyst Development and Deka companies to explore future commercial uses for the 650-acre Wilmington and Carson sites. Plans aim to generate jobs, improve infrastructure, and support environmental efforts. During the transition, Phillips 66 will supply gasoline through external sources and ramp up renewable fuel production at its Rodeo Renewable Energy Complex in Northern California. Finally, to close this episode out, ExxonMobil is reshaping its portfolio, putting a portion of its Bakken Shale assets in North Dakota up for sale. The offering includes 137 operated wells, 676 non-operated and royalty wells, and 49,000 net acres, potentially fetching over $500 million. This move comes as Exxon shifts focus following its $60 billion acquisition of Pioneer Natural Resources, aiming to prioritize high-growth assets. With much of the land undeveloped, prospective buyers may see an opportunity to expand operations and future drilling. And with that, we come to a close on this week's episode of the BIC Magazine Weekly Industry Report. You can head over to bicmagazine.com to read the full stories discussed today, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels so that you never miss out on the latest developments, updates, and announcements from the energy sector. Have a great day, and remember, it's what we do together that counts. Thank you again to Draeger Rental and Safety Services for sponsoring today's episode. Make sure to visit www.draeger.com to learn more about Draeger's smart safety solutions for your facility. When safety matters, rely on Draeger, technology for life.